After Love by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. March 2016. There is no magic when we meet. We speak as other people do. You work no miracle for me, nor I for you. You were the wind and I the sea. There is no splendour any more. I have grown listless as the pool beside the shore. But though the pool is safe from storm, and from the tide has found surcease, it grows more bitter than the sea, for all its peace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Ryan Finch. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in the sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Easter 1916 by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. 1. I have met them at close of day, coming with vivid faces from counter or desk among grey 18th century houses. I have passed with a nod of the head or polite meaningless words, or have lingered a while and said polite meaningless words, and thought before I had done of a mocking tale or a jibe to please a companion around the fire at the club, being certain that they and I but lived where motley lately is worn. All changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. 2. That woman's days were spent in ignorant goodwill, her nights in argument, until her voice grew shrill. What voice more sweet than hers when, young and beautiful, she rode to harriers? This man had kept a school and rode our winged horse. This other, his helper and friend, was coming into his force. He might have won fame in the end, so sensitive his nature seemed, so daring and sweet his thought. This other man I had dreamed, a drunken, vainglorious lout. He had done most bitter wrong to some who are near my heart, yet I number him in the song. He, too, has resigned his part in the casual comedy. He, too, has been changed in his turn, transformed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. 3. Hearts with one purpose alone through summer and winter seem enchanted to a stone to trouble the living stream. The horse that comes from the road, the rider, the birds that range from cloud to tumbling cloud, minute by minute change. A shadow of cloud on the stream changes minute by minute. A horse hoof slides on the brim, and a horse plashes within it, where long-legged moor-hens dive, and hens to moor-cocks call. Minute by minute they live, the stones in the midst of all. 4. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, when may it suffice? That is heaven's part, our part, to murmur name upon name, as a mother names her child, when sleep at last has come on limbs that had run wild. What is it but nightfall? No, no, not night, but death. Was it needless death, after all? For England may keep faith, for all that is done and said. We know their dream, enough to know they are dreamed and are dead. And what if excess of love bewildered them till they died? I write it out in a verse. Macdonough and Macbride, and Connolly and Perse, now and in time to be, wherever green is worn, are changed, changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Exile by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The swallow with summer will wing o'er the seas. The wind that I sigh to will visit thy trees. The ship that it hastens thy ports will contain. But me, I must never see England again. There's many that weep there, but one weeps alone, for the tears that are falling so far from her own. So far from thy own, love, we know not our pain, if death is between us, or only the main. When the white cloud reclines on the verge of the sea, I fancy the white cliffs, and dream upon thee. But the cloud spreads its wings to the blue heaven and flies. We never shall meet, love, except in the skies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Forsaken, by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The dead are in their silent graves, and the dew is cold above, and the living weep and sigh over dust that once was love. Once I only wept the dead, but now the living cause my pain. How couldst thou steal me from my tears, to leave me to my tears again? My mother rests beneath the sod, her rest is calm and very deep. I wished that she could see our loves, but now I gladden in her sleep. Last night unbound my raven locks, the morning saw them turn to grey. Once they were black and well beloved, but thou art changed, and so are they. The useless lock I gave thee once to gaze upon and think of me was ta'en with smiles, but this was torn in sorrow that I send to thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Good Friday, 1613. Riding Westward, by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. Let man's soul be a sphere, and then in this the intelligence that moves devotion is, and as the other spheres by being grown subject to foreign motion lose their own, and being by others hurried every day, scarce in a year their natural form obey, pleasure or business, so our souls admit for their first mover, and are whirled by it. Hence is it that I am carried towards the west this day, when my soul's form bends towards the east. There I should see a sun by rising set, and by that setting endless day beget. But that Christ on this cross did rise and fall, sin had eternally benighted all. Yet dare I almost be glad I do not see that spectacle of too much weight for me. Who sees God's face, that is self, life must die. What a death were it then to see God die! It made his own lieutenant nature shrink. It made his footstool crack, and the sun wink. Could I behold those hands which span the poles, and tune all spheres at once, pierced with those holes? Could I behold that endless height which is zenith to us, and our antipodes humbled below us, or that blood which is the seat of all our souls, if not of his, made dirt of dust, or that flesh which was worn by God for his apparel, raged and torn? If on these things I durst not look, durst I upon his miserable mother cast mine eye, who was God's partner here, and furnished thus half of that sacrifice which ransomed us? Though these things, as I ride, be from mine eye, they are present yet unto my memory, for that looks towards them, and thou look'st towards me, O Saviour, as thou hang'st upon the tree. I turn my back to thee, but to receive corrections, till thy mercies bid thee leave. O think me worth thine anger, punish me, burn off my rusts and my deformity, Restore thine image so much by thy grace that thou mayest know me, and I'll turn my face. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn to Proserpine, after the proclamation in Rome of the Christian faith, by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Jacob Rabinowitz. Wikisti, Galilee. I have lived long enough, having seen one thing, that love hath an end. Goddess and maiden and queen, be near me now and befriend. Thou art more than the day or the morrow, the seasons that laugh or that weep, for these give joy and sorrow, but thou, Proserpine, sleep. Sweet is the treading of wine, and sweet the feet of the dove, but a goodlier gift is thine than the foam of the grapes or love. Yea, is not even Apollo, with hair and harp-string of gold, a bitter god to follow, a beautiful god to behold? I am sick of singing, the bays burn deep and chafe. I am fain to rest a little from praise and grievous pleasure and pain. For the gods we know not of, who give us our daily breath, we know they are cruel as love or life, and lovely as death. O gods dethroned and deceased, cast forth, wiped out in a day, from your wrath is the world released, redeemed from your chains, men say. New gods are crowned in the city, their flowers have broken your rods. They are merciful, clothed with pity, the young, compassionate gods. But for me their new device is barren, the days are bare. Things long passed over suffice, and men forgotten that were. Time and the gods are at strife, ye dwell in the midst thereof, draining a little life from the barren breasts of love. I say to you, cease, take rest. Yea, I say to you all, be at peace, till the bitter milk of her breast and the barren bosom shall cease. Wilt thou yet take all, Galilean? But these thou shalt not take, the laurel, the palms, and the paean, the breasts of the nymphs in the brake, breasts more soft than a dove's that tremble with tenderer breath, and all the wings of the loves, and all the joy before death, all the feet of the hours that sound as a single lyre dropped and deep in the flowers, with strings that flicker like fire. More than these wilt thou give, things fairer than all these things? Nay, for a little we live, and life hath mutable wings. A little while, and we die. Shall life not thrive as it may? For no man under the sky lives twice, outliving his day. And grief is a grievous thing, and a man hath enough of his tears. Why should he labor and bring fresh grief to blacken his years? Thou hast conquered, O pale Galilean. The world has grown grey from thy breath. We have drunken of things Lethean, and fed on the fullness of death. Laurel is green for a season, and love is sweet for a day. But love grows bitter with treason, and laurel outlives not May. Sleep, shall we sleep after all? For the world is not sweet in the end. for the old faiths loosen and fall, the new years ruin and rend. Fate is a sea without shore, and the soul is a rock that abides, but her ears are vexed with the roar, and her face with the foam of the tides. O lips that the live blood faints in, the leavings of racks and of rods! O ghastly glories of saints, dead limbs of gibbeted gods! Though all men abase them before you in spirit, and all knees bend, I kneel not, neither adore you, but standing look to the end. All delicate days and pleasant, all spirits and sorrows are cast far out with the foam of the present that sweeps to the surf of the past, where beyond the extreme sea wall and between the remote sea gates, waste water washes and tall ships founder, and deep death waits, where mighty with deepening sides, clad about with the seas as with wings, and impelled of invisible tides, and fulfilled of unspeakable things, white-eyed and poisonous-finned, shark-toothed and serpentine-curled, rolls under the whitening wind of the future, the wave of the world. The depths stand naked in sunder, behind it the storms flee away. In the hollow before it the thunder is taken and snared as a prey. In its sides is the north wind bound, and its salt is of all men's tears, with light of ruin and sound of changes and pulse of years, with travail of day after day, and with trouble of hour upon hour, and bitter as blood is the spray, and the crests are as fangs that devour, and its vapour and storm of its steam is the sighing of spirits to be, and its noise is the noise in a dream, and its depth as the roots of the sea. And the height of its heads is the height of the utmost stars of the air, and the ends of the earth that the might thereof tremble, and time is made bare. Will ye bridle the deep sea with reins? Will ye chasten the high sea with rods? Will ye take her to chain her with chains, who is older than all ye gods? All ye as a wind shall go by, as a fire shall ye pass and be past. Ye are gods, and behold, ye shall die, and the waves be upon you at last. In the darkness of time, in the deeps of years, in the changes of things, ye shall sleep as a slain man sleeps, and the world shall forget you for kings. Though the feet of thine high priests tread where thy lords and our forefathers trod, though these that were gods are dead, and thou, being dead, art a god, though before thee the throne Cytherean be fallen and hidden her head, yet thy kingdom shall pass, Galilean. Thy dead shall go down to thee dead. Of the maiden thy mother men sing, as a goddess with grace clad around. Thou art throned where another was king, where another was queen she is crowned. Yea, once we had sight of another, but now she is queen, say these. Not as thine was our mother, a blossom of flowering seas, clothed round with the world's desire as with raiment, and fair as the foam, and fleeter than kindled fire, and a goddess and mother of Rome. For thine came pale and a maiden, and sister to sorrow, but ours, her deep hair heavily laden with odour and colour of flowers, white rose of the rose-white water, a silver splendour, a flame, bent down unto us that besought her, and earth grew sweet with her name. For thine came weeping, a slave among slaves and rejected, but she came flushed from the full-flushed wave, and imperial, her foot on the sea, and the wonderful waters knew her, and the winds and the viewless ways, and the roses grew rosier and bluer, the sea-blue stream of the bays. Ye are fallen, our lords, by what token? We wist that ye should not fall. You were all so fair that are broken, and one more fair than ye all. But I turn to her still, having seen she shall surely abide in the end. Goddess and maiden and queen, be near me now and befriend. O daughter of earth, of my mother, her crown and blossom of birth, I also thy brother. I go as I came unto earth. In the night where thine eyes are as moons are in heaven, the night where thou art, where the silence is more than all tunes, where sleep overflows from the heart, where the poppies are sweet as the rose in our world, and the red rose is white, and the wind falls faint as it blows with the fume of the flowers of the night, and the murmur of spirits that sleep in the shadow of gods from afar grows dim in thine ears and deep as the deep dim soul of a star. In the sweet low light of thy face, under heavens untrod by the sun, let my soul with their souls find place, and forget what is done and undone. Thou art more than the gods who number the days of our temporal breath. Let these give labor and slumber, but thou, Proserpine, death. Therefore now at thy feet I abide for a season in silence. I know I shall die as my fathers died, and sleep as they sleep, even so. For the glass of the years is brittle, wherein we gaze for a span. A little soul for a little bears up this corpse which is man. So long I endure, no longer, and laugh not again, neither weep. For there is no God found stronger than death, and death is asleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Intimations of Immortality, an ode by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Michele Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in March 2016. The child is father of the man, and I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. There was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light, the glory and the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it hath been of yore. Turn wheresoe'er I may, by night or day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more. The rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. The moon doth with delight look round her when the heavens are bare. Waters on a starry night are beautiful and fair. The sunshine is a glorious birth. But yet I know, where'er I go, that there hath passed away a glory from the earth. Now, while the birds thus sing a joyous song, and while the young lambs bound as to the tabor's sound, to me alone there came a thought of grief. A timely utterance gave that thought relief, and I again am strong. The cataracts blow their trumpets from the steep, no more shall grief of mine the season wrong. I hear the echoes through the mountains throng, the winds come to me from the fields of sleep, and all the earth is gay, land and sea give themselves up to jollity. and with the heart of May doth every beast keep holiday. Thou child of joy, shout round me, let me hear thy shouts, thou happy shepherd boy. Ye blessed creatures, I have heard the call ye to each other make. I see the heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. My heart is at your festival, my head hath its coronal. The fullness of your bliss I feel it all. O evil day, if I were sullen while earth herself is adorning this sweet May morning, and the children are culling on every side, in 1,000 valleys far and wide, fresh flowers, while the sun shines warm and the babe leaps up on his mother's arm. I hear, with joy I hear. But there's a tree, of many one, a single field which I have looked upon. Both of them speak of something that is gone. The pansy at my feet doth the same tale repeat. Whither is fled the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory and the dream? Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, hath had elsewhere its setting, and cometh from afar, not in entire forgetfulness, and not in utter nakedness, but trailing clouds of glory do we come from God, who is our home. Heaven lies about us in our infancy. Shades of the prison house begin to close upon the growing boy. But he beholds the light, and whence it flows he sees it in his joy. The youth, who daily farther from the east must travel, still is nature's priest, and by the vision splendid is on his way attended. At length the man perceives it die away, and fade into the light of common day. Earth fills her lap with pleasures of her own. Yearning she hath in her own natural kind, and even with something of a mother's mind, and no unworthy aim. The homely nurse doth all she can to make her fostered child, her inmate man, forget the glories he hath known, and that imperial palace whence he came. Behold the child among his newborn blisses, a 6 years' darling of a pygmy size. See, where amid work of his own hand he lies, fretted by sallies of his mother's kisses, with light upon him from his father's eyes. See at his feet some little plan or chart, some fragment from his dream of human life, shaped by himself with newly learned art. A wedding or a festival, a mourning or a funeral, and this hath now his heart. And unto this he frames his song. Then will he fit his tongue to dialogues of business, love, or strife. But it will not be long ere this be thrown aside, and with new joy and pride the little actor cons another part, filling from time to time his humorous stage with all the persons down to palsied age that life brings with her in her equipage, as if his whole vocation were endless imitation. Thou, whose exterior semblance doth belie thy soul's immensity, thou best philosopher, who yet dost keep thy heritage, thou eye among the blind, that, deaf and silent, read'st the eternal deep, haunted forever by the eternal mind, mighty prophet, seer blessed, on whom those truths do rest which we are toiling all our lives to find, in darkness lost, the darkness of the grave. Thou over whom thy immortality broods like the day, a master or a slave, a presence which is not to be put by, thou little child, yet glorious in the might of heaven-born freedom on thy being's height. Why, with such earnest pains, dost thou provoke the years to bring the inevitable yoke, thus blindly with thy blessedness at strife? Full soon thy soul shall have her earthly freight, and custom lie upon thee with a weight heavy as frost and deep almost as life. Oh, joy, that in our embers is something that doth live, that nature yet remembers what was so fugitive. The thought of our past years in me doth breed perpetual benediction, not indeed for that which is most worthy to be blessed, delight and liberty, the simple creed of childhood, whether busy or at rest, with new-fledged hope still fluttering in his breast. Not for these I raise the song of thanks and praise, but for those obstinate questionings of sense and outward things, fallings from us, vanishings, blank misgivings of a creature moving about in worlds not realized, high instincts before which our mortal nature did tremble like a guilty thing surprised. But for those first affections, those shadowy recollections, which, be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of all our day, are yet the master light of all our seeing, uphold us, cherish, and have power to make our noisy years seem moments in the being of the eternal silence, truths that wake to perish never, which neither listlessness nor mad endeavor, nor man nor boy, nor all that is at enmity with joy can utterly abolish or destroy. Hence, in the season of calm weather, though inland far we be, our souls have sight of that immortal sea which brought us hither, can in a moment travel thither, and see the children sport upon the shore, and hear the mighty waters rolling evermore. Then sing, ye birds, sing, sing a joyous song, and let the young lambs bound as to the Tabor's sound. We in thought will join your throng, ye that pipe and ye that play, ye that through your hearts today feel the gladness of the May. What though the radiance which was once so bright be now forever taken from my sight? Though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass, of glory in the flower, we will grieve not, rather find strength in what remains behind, in the primal sympathy which having been must ever be, in the soothing thoughts that spring out of human suffering, in the faith that looks through death, in years that bring the philosophic mind. And oh, ye fountains, meadows, hills, and groves, forebode not any severing of our loves. Yet in my heart of hearts I feel your might. I only have relinquished one delight, to live beneath your more habitual sway. I love the brooks which down their channels fret, even more than when I tripped lightly as they. The innocent brightness of a new-born day is lovely yet. The clouds that gather round the setting sun do take a sober coloring from an eye that hath kept watch o'er man's mortality. Another race hath been, and other palms are won. Thanks to the human heart by which we live, thanks to its tenderness, its joys, its fears, to me the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Kin to Sorrow by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. March 2016. Am I kin to sorrow, that so oft falls the knocker of my door, neither loud nor soft, but, as long accustomed, under sorrow's hand? Marigolds around the step, and rosemary stand. And then comes sorrow, and what does sorrow care for the rosemary or the marigolds there? Am I kin to sorrow? Are we kin, that so oft upon my door? Oh, come in. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Land Where Hate Should Die by Dennis Aloysius McCarthy. Read for LibriVox.org by Sue Anderson. This is the land where hate should die. No feuds of faith, no spleen of race, no darkly brooding fear should try beneath our flag to find a place. Lo, every people here has sent its sons to answer freedom's call. Their lifeblood is the strong cement that builds and binds the nation's wall. This is the land where hate should die. Though dear to me my faith and shrine, I serve my country well when I respect the creeds that are not mine. He little loves his land who'd cast upon his neighbor's word a doubt, or cite the wrongs of ages past from present rights to bar him out. This is the land where hate should die. This is the land where strife should cease, where foul, suspicious fear should fly before the light of love and peace. Then let us purge from poisoned thought that service to the state we give, and so be worthy as we ought of this great land in which we live. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lee Shore by Thomas Hood. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Sleet and hail and thunder, and ye winds that rave till the sands thereunder tinge the sullen wave, winds that like a demon howl with horrid note round the toiling seaman in his tossing boat. From his humble dwelling on the shingly shore, where the billows swelling keep such hollow roar, from that weeping woman seeking with her cries succor superhuman from the frowning skies, from the urchin pining for his father's knee, from the lattice shining, drive him out to sea. Let broad leagues dissever him from yonder foam. O God, to think man ever comes too near his home. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love and Sleep by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Lying asleep between the strokes of night, I saw my love lean over my sad bed, pale as the duskiest lily's leaf or head, smooth-skinned and dark, with bare throat made to bite, too wan for blushing and too warm for white, but perfect coloured without white or red. And her lips opened amorously and said, I wist not what, saving one word, delight. And all her face was honey to my mouth, and all her body pasture to mine eyes, the long lithe arms and hotter hands than fire, the quivering flanks, hair smelling of the south, the bright light feet, the splendid supple thighs and glittering eyelids of my soul's desire. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mercy's Reward by Sir Edwin Arnold, read for LibriVox.org by David Wales. Hast seen the record written of Saladin the Sultan, how he met upon a day in his own city on the public way a woman whom they led to die. The veil was stripped from off her weeping face, and pale her shamed cheeks were, and wild her fixed eye, and her lips drawn with terror at the cry of the harsh people, and the rugged stones borne in their hands to break her flesh and bones. For the law stood that sinners such as she perish by stoning, and this doom must be. So went the adulteress to her death. High noon it was, and the hot Khamsin's breath blew from the desert sands and parched the town. The crows gasped, and the kine went up and down with lolling tongues. The camels moaned, a crowd pressed with their pitchers, wrangling high and loud about the tank, and one dog by a well, nigh dead with thirst, lay where he yelped and fell, glaring upon the water out of reach, and praying succour in a silent speech, so piteous were its eyes. Which when she saw, this woman from her foot her shoe did draw, albeit death sorrowful, and looping up the long silk of her girdle, made a cup of the heel's hollow, and thus let it sink until it touched the cool black water's brink. So filled the embroidered shoe, and gave a draught to the spent beast, which whined and fawned and quaffed her kind gift to the dregs. Next licked her hand with such glad looks that all might understand he held his life from her. Then at her feet he followed close all down the cruel street, her one friend in that city. But the king, riding within his litter, marked this thing, and how the woman on her way to die had such compassion for the misery of that parched hound. Take off her chain, and place the veil once more about the sinner's face, and lead her to her house in peace, he said. The law is that the people stone thee dead for that which thou hast wrought, but there is come fawning around thy feet a witness dumb, not heard upon thy trial. This brute beast testifies for thee, sister, whose weak breast death could not make ungentle. I hold rule in Allah's stead, who is the merciful, and hope for mercy. Therefore go thou free. I dare not show less pity unto thee. As we forgive, and more than we, Ya Bar, good God, show clemency. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Met by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen Flanary. How odd and strange seems our meeting, like a grim rendezvous of the dead. All day I have sat here repeating the commonplace things that we said. They sounded so oddly when uttered. They sound just as odd to me now. Was it we, or our two ghosts who muttered last evening with simper and bow? I had grown used to living without you. In revel and concert and ball, I had flown from much thinking about you, and your picture I turned to the wall. For to call back the dream that was broken, to fancy your hand on my hair, to remember the words we had spoken, was madness and gall and despair. I knew I could never forget you, but I wanted to put you away, and now, just to think how I met you, it has seemed like a nightmare all day. We two with our record of passion, we two who have been as one heart, to meet in that calm, quiet fashion and chat for a moment and part. We two who remember such blisses not heaven itself can eclipse. We two who had kissed with the kisses that draw out the soul through the lips. We two who have known the ideal, the rare perfect love in its might. Nay, nay, they were ghosts and not real who met and who parted last night. They were ghosts unprepared for the meeting. 'Twas a chance rendezvous of the dead. And all day I sit here repeating the odd-sounding words that were said. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Off Shop Windows by Thomas Burke. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Off Shop Windows. Looking closely at the glass windows of my shop, I see in them the whole of my shop reflected. Looking at my windows closely from the street, I see in them the life of the street reflected. Yet if I stand away, the glass remains transparent, and I see clearly through it to the things beyond. If I look with close vision into the hearts of men, I see my own small heart reflected. I will try henceforth not to look at them too closely. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Partition of the Earth by Friedrich Schiller. Read for LibriVox.org. Take ye the world, cried Jove from heaven's bright throne. O mortals, ye are earth's eternal heirs. Earth's treasures numberless are now your own, yet with fraternal love divide the shares. Both young and aged as a living tide haste to partake in what they most desire. The farmer with the field is satisfied, the forest, game and wood delight the squire. What stores the merchant's warehouses display, the abbot claims the earth's most luscious wine. The king on the road and bridge doth tribute lay, and thus proclaims, the toll of all is mine. Long after each a liberal prize hath found, the poet from afar comes listlessly to claim his portion. Long he gazes round, alas, no heritage can he descry. Ah, why should I, thy most devoted son, alone have no memento of thy love? The minstrel cries with supplicating tone, and kneels before the Olympian throne of Jove. The god replies, my son, if thou hast strayed in fancy's land of dreams, reproach not me. When the partition of the earth was made, where wast thou? Father Jove, I was with thee. Mine eye was dazzled by thy glorious light, mine ear enraptured by heaven's harmony. Forgive, if in Olympus' region bright I had forgotten earth had charms for me. Jove saith, no longer earth is mine, my son. Her harvests, forests, markets, all are given. Yet if with me thou dwelt beside my throne, to thee shall ne'er be closed the gates of heaven. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Prisoners by Hilda Doolittle. Read for LibriVox.org by Kathleen Flanary. It is strange that I should want this sight of your face. We have had so much. At any moment now I may pass. Stand near the gate. Do not speak. Only reach if you can. Your face half fronting the passage toward the light. Fate. God sends this as a mark, a last token that we are not forgot, lost in this turmoil, about to be crushed out, burned or stamped out at best with sudden death. The spearsman who brings this will ask for the gold clasp you wear under your coat. I gave all I had left. Press close to the portal. My gate will soon cling, and your fellow wretches will crowd to the entrance. Be first at the gate. Ah, beloved, do not speak. I write this in great haste. Do not speak. You may yet be released. I am glad enough to depart, though I have never tasted life as in these last weeks. It is a strange life, patterned in fire and letters on the prison pavement. If I glance up, it is written on the walls. It is cut on the floor. It is pattered across the slope of the roof. I am weak, weak. Last night, if the guard had left the gate unlocked, I could not have ventured to escape. But one thought serves me now with strength. As I pass down the corridor, past desperate faces at each cell, your eyes and my eyes may meet. You will be dark, unkempt, but I pray for one glimpse of your face. Why do I want this? I, who have seen you at the banquet, each flower of your hyacinth circlet white against your hair. Why do I want this, when even last night you startled me from sleep? You stood against the dark rock, you grasped an elder staff. So many nights you have distracted me from terror. Once you lifted a spear flower. I remember how you stooped to gather it, and it flamed, the leaf and shoot and the threads, yellow, yellow, sheer till they burnt to red-purple in the cup. As I pass your cell door, do not speak. I was first on the list. They may forget you tried to shield me as the horseman passed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Rain by William Henry Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by Livia. I hear leaves drinking rain. I hear rich leaves on top, giving the poor beneath drop after drop. 'Tis a sweet noise to hear these green leaves drinking near. And when the sun comes out after this rain shall stop, a wondrous light will fill each dark round drop. I hope the sun shines bright. 'Twill be a lovely sight. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
So-Called Friendship by J. Gordon Kugler. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. We call it friendship, yet how strange it moves in this cold world of ours. It may be just, it may be true, but it doesn't live in nature's bowers. 'Tis but a kind of unknown being, roaming in the highest spheres. If you grasp it, 'twill deceive you by the holy garb it often wears. It is no spirit from the heavens, nor the regions of the dead, but a kind of unknown demon manufactured in the head. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Song by Sir John Suckling. Read for LibriVox.org by Marwa Khalouf, Damascus, Syria, 2016. Why so pale and worn, fond lover? Pray thee, why so pale? Will when looking well can't move her, looking ill prevail? Pray thee, why so pale? Why so dull and mute? Young sinner, pray thee, why so mute? Will when speaking well can't win her, saying nothing do it? Pray thee, why so mute? Quit, quit, for shame, this will not move, this cannot take her. If of herself she will not love, nothing can make her, the devil take her. End of a Song by Sir John Suckling. This recording is in the public domain. Sonnet 61 by Michael Drayton. Read for LibriVox.org by Marwa Khalouf, Damascus, Syria, 2016. Since there is no help, come let us kiss and part. Nay, I have done. You get no more of me, and I am glad, yea, glad with all my heart, that thus so cleanly I myself can free. Shake hands forever, cancel all our vows, and when we meet at any time again, be it not seen in either of our brows, that we one jot of formal love retain. Now at the last gasp of love's latest breath, when his pulse failing, passion speechless lies, when faith is kneeling by his bed of death, and innocence is closing up his eyes. Now if thou wouldest, when all have given him over, from death to life, thou mightest him yet recover. End of Sonnet 61 by Michael Drayton. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet I. When you that at this moment are to me, by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. March 2016. When you that at this moment are to me dearer than words on paper shall depart, and be no more the warder of my heart, whereof again myself shall hold the key, and be no more what now you seem to be, the sun, from which all excellencies start in a round nimbus, nor a broken dart of moonlight even, splintered on the sea. I shall remember only of this hour, and weep somewhat, as now you see me weep, the pathos of your love, that, like a flower, fearful of death yet amorous of sleep, droops for a moment, and beholds dismayed the wind whereon its petals shall be laid. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Storm at Annisquam by Madison Julius Carway. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Storm at Annisquam. The sun sinks scarlet as a Barbary. Far off at sea one vessel lifts a sail, hurrying to harbour from the coming gale that banks the west above a choppy sea. The sun is gone, the tide is flowing free, the bay is opaled with wild light, and pale the lighthouse bears its flame now through a veil that falls about the sea mysteriously. Out there she sits and mutters of her dead, old ocean, of the stalwart and the strong, skipper and fisher whom her arms dragged down. Before her now she sees their ghosts. Overhead, as grey as rain, their wild wrecks sweep along, and all night long lay siege to this old town. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tamerlane by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Jacob Rabinowitz. Kind solace in a dying hour, such, Father, is not now my theme. I will not madly deem that power of earth may shrive me of the sin unearthly pride hath revelled in. I have no time to dote or dream. You call it hope? That fire of fire! It is but agony of desire. If I can hope, oh God, I can. Its fount is holier, more divine. I would not call thee fool, old man, but such is not a gift of thine. Know thou the secret of a spirit bowed from its wild pride into shame. O yearning heart, I did inherit thy withering portion with the fame, the searing glory which hath shone amid the jewels of my throne, halo of hell, and with a pain not hell shall make me fear again. O craving heart, for the lost flowers and sunshine of my summer hours, the undying voice of that dead time, with its interminable chime, rings in the spirit of a spell upon the emptiness, a knell. I have not always been as now, the fevered diadem on my brow I claimed and won usurpingly. Hath not the same fierce heirdom given Rome to Caesar, this to me, the heritage of a kingly mind and a proud spirit which hath striven triumphantly with humankind? On mountain soil I first drew life. The mists of the Taglay have shed nightly their dews upon my head, and I believe the winged strife and tumult of the headlong air have nestled in my very hair. So late from heaven that dew it fell, mid dreams of an unholy night, upon me with the touch of hell, while the red flashing of the light from clouds that hung like banners o'er appeared to my half-closing eye the pageantry of monarchy, and the deep trumpet thunder's roar came hurriedly upon me, telling of human battle, where my voice, my own voice, silly child, was swelling. Oh, how my spirit spirit would rejoice and leap within me at the cry, the battle cry of victory. The rain came down upon my head unsheltered, and the heavy wind rendered me mad and deaf and blind. It was but man, I thought, who shed laurels upon me, and the rush, the torrent of the chilly air gurgled within my ear the crush of empires, with the captive's prayer, the hum of suitors, and the tone of flattery round a sovereign's throne. My passions, from that hapless hour, usurped a tyranny which men have deemed, since I have reached to power, my innate nature. Be it so. But, Father, there lived one who then in my boyhood, when their fire burned with a still intenser glow, for passion must with youth expire, e'en then who knew this iron heart in woman's weakness had a part. I have no words, alas, to tell the loveliness of loving well, nor would I now attempt to trace the more than beauty of a face whose lineaments upon my mind are shadows on th' unstable wind. Thus I remember having dwelt some page of early lore upon with loitering eye, till I have felt the letters with their meaning melt to fantasies with none. Oh, she was worthy of all love, love as in infancy was mine. 'Twas such as angel minds above might envy, her young heart the shrine on which my every hope and thought were incense, then a goodly gift, for they were childish and upright, pure as her young example taught. Why did I leave it, and adrift trust to the fire within for light? We grew in age and love together, roaming the forest and the wild, my breast her shield in wintry weather, and when the friendly sunshine smiled, and she would mark the opening skies, I saw no heaven but in her eyes. Young love's first lesson is the heart. For mid that sunshine and those smiles, when from our little cares apart, and laughing at her girlish wiles, I'd throw me on her throbbing breast and pour my spirit out in tears, there was no need to speak the rest, no need to quiet any fears of her who asked no reason why, but turned on me her quiet eye. Yet more than worthy of the love my spirit struggled with and strove, when on the mountain peak alone ambition lent it a new tone. I had no being but in thee, the world and all it did contain, in the earth, the air, the sea, its joy, its little lot of pain. That was new pleasure, the ideal, dim vanities of dreams by night, and dimmer nothings which were real, shadows and a more shadowy light, parted upon their misty wings, and so confusedly became thine image and a name, two separate yet most intimate things. I was ambitious. Have you known the passion, Father? You have not. A cottager, I marked a throne of half the world as all my own, and murmured at such lowly lot. But just like any other dream upon the vapor of the dew, my own had passed, did not the beam of beauty which did while it through the minute, the hour, the day, oppress my mind with double loveliness. We walked together on the crown of a high mountain, which looked down afar from its proud natural towers of rock and forest on the hills, the dwindled hills, begirt with bowers and shouting with 1,000 rills. I spoke to her of power and pride, but mystically, in such guise that she might deem it naught beside the moment's converse. In her eyes I read, perhaps too carelessly, a mingled feeling with my own. The flush on her bright cheek to me seemed to become a queenly throne, too well that I should let it be light in the wilderness alone. I wrapped myself in grandeur then, and donned a visionary crown. Yet it was not that fantasy had thrown her mantle over me, but that, among the rabble, men, lion ambition is chained down and crouches to a keeper's hand. Not so in deserts, where the grand, the wild, the terrible conspire with their own breath to fan his fire. Look round thee now on Samarcand. Is she not queen of earth? Her pride above all cities, in her hand their destinies? In all beside of glory which the world hath known, stands she not nobly and alone? Falling, her veriest stepping stone shall form the pedestal of a throne. And who her sovereign? Timur, he whom the astonished people saw striding o'er empires haughtily, a diademed outlaw. O human love, thou spirit given on earth of all we hope in heaven, which forced into the soul like rain upon the Syriac withered plain, and failing in thy power to bless, but leaves the heart a wilderness. Idea, which bindest life around with music of so strange a sound, and beauty of so wild a birth. Farewell, for I have won the earth. When hope, the eagle that towered, could see no cliff beyond him in the sky, his pinions were bent droopingly, and homeward turned his softened eye. 'Twas sunset. When the sun will part, there comes a sullenness of heart to him who still would look upon the glory of the summer sun. That soul will hate the evening mist, so often lovely, and will list to the sound of coming darkness, known to those whose spirits hearken, as one who in a dream of night would fly, but cannot from a danger nigh. What though the moon, the white moon, shed all the splendor of her noon? Her smile is chilly, and her beam in that time of dreariness will seem, so like you gathering your breath, a portrait taken after death. And boyhood is a summer sun, whose waning is the dreariest one. For all we live to know is known, and all we seek to keep hath flown. Let life then, as the day flower, fall with the noonday beauty, which is all. I reached my home no more, for all had flown who made it so. I passed from out its mossy door, and though my tread was soft and low, a voice came from the threshold stone of one whom I had earlier known. Oh, I defy thee, hell, to show on beds of fire that burn below a humbler heart, a deeper woe. Father, I firmly do believe, I know, for death who comes for me from regions of the blest afar, where there is nothing to deceive, hath left his iron gate ajar, and rays of truth you cannot see are flashing through eternity. I do believe that Eblis hath a snare in every human path, else how, when in the holy grove I wandered of the idol love, who daily scents his snowy wings with incense of burnt offerings from the most unpolluted things, whose pleasant bowers are yet so riven above with trellised rays from heaven, no mote may shun, no tiniest fly the lightning of his eagle eye. How was it that ambition crept, unseen, amid the revels there, till growing bold he laughed and leapt in the tangles of love's very hair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tay Bridge Disaster by William McGonagall. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Addison. Beautiful railway bridge of the Silvery Tay. Alas, I am very sorry to say that 90 lives have been taken away on the last Sabbath day of 1879, which will be remembered for a very long time. 'Twas about 7 o'clock at night, and the wind it blew with all its might, and the rain came pouring down, and the dark clouds seemed to frown, and the demon of the air seemed to say, "I'll blow down the Bridge of Tay." When the train left Edinburgh, the passengers' hearts were light and felt no sorrow. But Boreas blew a terrific gale, which made their hearts for to quail, and many of the passengers with fear did say, "I hope God will send us safe across the Bridge of Tay." But when the train came near to Wormit Bay, Boreas he did loud and angry bray, and shook the central girders of the Bridge of Tay on the last Sabbath day of 1879, which will be remembered for a very long time. So the train sped on with all its might, and bonny Dundee soon hove in sight, and the passengers' hearts felt light, thinking they would enjoy themselves on the New Year with their friends at home they loved most dear, and wish them all a happy New Year. So the train moved slowly along the Bridge of Tay until it was about midway. Then the central girders with a crash gave way, and down went the train and passengers into the Tay. The storm fiend did loudly bray, because 90 lives had been taken away on the last Sabbath day of 1879, which will be remembered for a very long time. As soon as the catastrophe came to be known, the alarm from mouth to mouth was blown, and the cry rang out all o'er the town, "Good heavens, the Tay Bridge is blown down!" And a passenger train from Edinburgh, which filled all the people's hearts with sorrow, and made them for to turn pale, because none of the passengers were saved to tell the tale, how the disaster happened on the last Sabbath day of 1879, which will be remembered for a very long time. It must have been an awful sight to witness in the dusky moonlight, while the storm fiend did laugh and angry did bray along the railway bridge of the Silvery Tay. O ill-fated Bridge of the Silvery Tay, I must now conclude my lay by telling the world fearlessly, without the least dismay, that your central girders would not have given way, at least many sensible men do say, had they been supported on each side with buttresses, at least many sensible men confesses. For the stronger we our houses do build, the less chance we have of being killed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Althea from Prison by Richard Lovelace. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. When love with unconfined wings hovers within my gates, and my divine Althea brings to whisper at my grates, when I lie tangled in her hair and fettered to her eye, the birds that wanton in the air know no such liberty. When flowing cups run swiftly round with no allaying Thames, our careless heads with roses bound, our hearts with loyal flames, when thirsty grief in wine we steep, when health and draughts go free, fishes that tipple in the deep know no such liberty. When like committed linnets I with shriller throat shall sing the sweetness, mercy, majesty, and glories of my King, when I shall voice aloud how good he is, how great should be, enlarged winds that curl the flood know no such liberty. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for an hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To an Old Mate by Henry Lawson. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. To an Old Mate. Old mate, in the gusty old weather, when our hopes and our troubles were new, in the years spent in wearing out leather, I found you unselfish and true. I have gathered these verses together for the sake of our friendship and you. You may think for a while and with reason, though still with a kindly regret, that I've left it full late in the season to prove I remember you yet. But you'll never judge me by their treason who profit by friends and forget. I remember, old man, I remember. The tracks that we followed are clear. The jovial last nights of December, the solemn first days of the year. Long tramps through the clearings and timber, short partings on platform and pier. I can still feel the spirit that bore us, and often the old stars will shine. I remember the last spree in chorus, for the sake of that other lang syne, when the tracks lay divided before us, your path through the future and mine. Through the frost wind that cut like whiplashes, through the ever-blind haze of the drought, and in fancy at times by the flashes of light in the darkness of doubt, I have followed the tent poles and ashes of camps that we moved further out. You will find in these pages a trace of that side of our past which was bright, and recognise sometimes the face of a friend who was dropped out of sight. I send them along in the place of the letters I promised to write. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To One in Paradise by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Jacob Rabinowitz. Thou wast all to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last! Ah, starry hope, that didst arise but to be overcast! A voice from out the future cries, on, but o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas, with me the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy grey eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams, in what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Upon the Lines and Life of the Famous Scenic Poet, Master William Shakespeare, by Hugh Holland. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Prefatory Poem in Shakespeare's First Folio, 1623. Those hands, which you so clapped, go now and wring, you Britons brave, for done are Shakespeare's days. His days are done, that made the dainty plays, which made the globe of heaven and earth to ring. Dried is that vein, dried is the Thespian spring, turned all to tears, and Phoebus clouds his rays. That corpse, that coffin, now bestick those bays, which crowned him poet first, then poet's king. If tragedies might any prologue have, all those he made would scarce make one to this, where fame, now that he gone is to the grave, death's public tiring house, the nucleus is. For though his line of life went soon about, the life yet of his lines shall never out. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Urbs Sacra Eterna by Oscar Wilde. Read for LibriVox.org by Livia. Rome, what a scroll of history thine has been. In the first days thy thought republican ruled the whole world for many an age's span. Then of thy peoples thou wert crowned queen, till in thy streets the bearded god was seen. And now upon thy walls the breezes fan, a city crowned by God, discrowned by man, the hated flag of red and white and green. When was thy glory, when in search for power thine eagles flew to greet the double sun, and all the nations trembled at thy rod? Nay, but thy glory tarried for this hour, when pilgrims kneel before the Holy One, the present shepherd of the Church of God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Uses of Poetry by William Carlos Williams. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. I've fond anticipation of a day o'erfilled with pure diversion presently, for I must read a lady posy the while we glide by many a leafy bay. Hid deep in rushes, where at random play the glossy black-winged mayflies, or whence flee hush-throated nestlings in alarm, whom we have idly frighted with our boat's long sway. For lest o'ersaddened by such woes as spring to rural peace from our meek onward trend, what else more fit? We'll draw the latch-string and close the door of sense, then satiate wend, on poesy's transforming giant wing, to worlds afar whose fruits all anguish mend. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Valgavin's Song in the Spring by Lawrence Hope. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. The temple bells are ringing, the young green corn is springing, and the marriage month is drawing very near. I lie hidden in the grass, and I count the moments pass, for the month of marriages is drawing near. Soon, ah soon, the women spread the appointed bridal bed with hibiscus buds and crimson marriage flowers, where, when all the songs are done, and the dear dark night begun, I shall hold her in my happy arms for hours. She is young and very sweet, from the silver on her feet to the silver and the flowers in her hair, and her beauty makes me swoon as the mogra trees at noon intoxicate the hot and quivering air. Ah, I would the hours were fleet as her silver-circled feet. I am weary of the daytime and the night. I am weary unto death, O my rose with jasmine breath, with this longing for your beauty and your light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Marwa Khalouf, Damascus, Syria, 2016. When you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book, and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love false or true. But one man loved the pilgrim soul anew, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced among the mountains overhead, and hid his face among a crowd of stars. End of When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. This recording is in the public domain.
Windsor. Imprisoned in Windsor, he recounteth his pleasure there past. By Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Copeland. So cruel prison, how could betide, alas, as proud Windsor, where I in lust and joy with the king's son my childish years did pass, in greater feast than Priam's sons of Troy, where each sweet place returns a taste full sour. The large green courts where we were wont to rove, with eyes upcast under the maiden's tower, and easy sighs such as folk draw in love. The stately seats, the ladies bright of hue, the dances short, long tales of great delight, with words and looks that tigers could but rue, when each of us did plead the other's right. The palm play, where, disported for the game with dazed eyes, oft we by gleams of love have missed the ball, and caught sight of our dame, to bait her eyes, which kept the leads above. The gravelled ground, with sleeves tied on the helm, on foaming horse with swords and friendly hearts, with cheer as though one should another whelm, where we have fought and chased oft with darts, with silver drops the meads yet spread for ruth, in active games of nimbleness and strength, where we did strain, trained with swarms of youth, our tender limbs, that yet shot up in length, the secret groves, which oft we made resound of pleasant plaint, and of our lady's praise, recording oft what grace each one had found, what hope of speed, what dread of long delays. The wild forest, the clothed hopes with green, with reins of veiled and swift-breathed horse, with cry of hounds and merry blasts between, where we did chase the fearful heart of force. The void walls eke that harboured us each night, wherewith, alas, revive within my breast the sweet accord, such sleeps as yet delight, the pleasant dreams, the quiet bed of rest, the secret thoughts imparted with such trust, the wanton talk the diverse change of play, the friendship sworn, each promise kept so just, wherewith we passed the winter night away. And with this thought the blood forsakes the face, the tears berain my cheeks of deadly hue, the which, as soon as sobbing sighs, alas, upsupped have, thus I my plaint renew. O place of bliss, renewer of my woes, give me account, where is my noble fear, whom in thy walls thou dost each night enclose, to other lief, but unto me most dear? Echo, alas, that doth my sorrow rue, returns thereto a hollow sound of plaint. Thus I, alone, where all my freedom grew, in prison pine, with bondage and restraint, and with remembrance of the greater grief, to banish the less, I find my chief relief. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The World, a poem by Edwin Arlington Robinson, read for LibriVox.org by Marissa Parker, March 9, 2016, Enon Valley, Pennsylvania. Some are the brothers of all humankind, and own them whatsoever their estate, and some, for sorrow and self-scorn, are blind, with enmity for man's unguarded fate. For some there is a music all day long, like flutes in paradise, they are so glad, and there is hell's eternal undersong of curses and the cries of men gone mad. Some say the scheme with love stands luminous, some say 'twere better back to chaos hurled, and so 'tis what we are that makes for us the measure and the meaning of the world. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.